WKU baseball took on the number 25 team in the nation, and it went about as well as you would guess.
And the Lady Tops are on the diamond digging for gold, but Mother Nature stood in the way.
And the Tops are not only killing it on all surfaces, they're killing it at the desk too. All that and more on the Extra Point.
Extra Point.
To the Extra Point, my name is Jimmy Stratman.
I'm Sam Porter.
And we got a whole lot to talk about tonight, Sam. Some baseball, some softball, even a little football.
Let's get into it.
Conference USA is slouch when it comes to baseball. The Hilltoppers welcomed in the number 25 ranked Golden Eagles from Southern Mississippi last weekend for a 3-game tilt. The Golden Eagles swept the Tops in their first meeting of the year, 6-1, 5-0, and 13-1 in 8 innings. WKU only managed 2 runs against USM in the series. Still, Ryan Thurston looked good on Friday night, delivering a quality start through 7 innings with 8 strikeouts. Coley Curry and Thomas Peters had multiple hits throughout the 3 games as well. Now, every now and then, what happens on the field has to take a back seat to a greater cause. Extra Point reporter Zach Lee looks at how the WKU baseball team did just that.
Haircuts are just a simple, routine life task. But the WKU baseball team took that simple task into a game changer for children. Many of the players and staff from the Hilltopper baseball team shaved their heads to raise money for children with cancer.
You know, cancer has no boundaries. It doesn't care where you live, what job you have, how much money you have, what color your skin. It affects everybody and anybody.
Head coach John Pulowski and pitcher Paul Kirkpatrick have both experienced this terrible disease firsthand.
2 years ago, my dad was diagnosed with glioblastoma, which is a type of brain cancer.
And it's special to me personally because, you know, my daughter went through it. She had a bout with cancer, and so it's near and dear to me, and just thankful that we can help people that are fighting this dreadful disease.
In the middle of summer ball, actually, so as soon as I heard about it, flew home the next day, really put baseball into perspective.
For Paul, his dad doesn't get to see him every time he takes them out, but when he does, it's something special.
It's just made our bond better, and him coming to watch me just makes it more special.
Reporting for the Extra Point, I'm Zach Lee.
Love you, Dad.
WKU baseball team helped raise $3,128 towards childhood cancer. WKU snapped their 4-game losing streak Tuesday night against Murray State. It didn't look good for the Tops after starting pitcher Caleb Bruner left the game in the 2nd inning after injuring his arm. But the bats came alive to propel the Toppers forward. WKU put up 6 runs in the bottom of the 2nd inning to secure a sizable lead. Murray State came back with a 5 spot in the 3rd and a 3 spot in the 6th to tie things up. But in the bottom of the 9th inning, junior Tyler Robertson delivered a walk-off sacrifice fly to give WKU their 10th win of the season. We'll hit on that a little bit later on in the show. Hopefully, that win against Murray State can give WKU some confidence heading into a weekend matchup down in Texas. Currently, the Tops sit 10th in conference standings, 1 game removed from that coveted 8th spot to guarantee themselves a berth in the conference tournament. WKU currently sit behind a Middle Tennessee team that they took 2 out of 3 from earlier this year, and a Marshall team they won't see until May. WKU look to improve their conference record this weekend down in San Antonio. The Roadrunners come into the matchup as the 2nd best offensive team in Conference USA, posting a .306 batting average and a .484 slugging percentage. However, they struggle on the mound. UTSA enters the matchup at 9th in conference in pitching. The Roadrunners post a .489 team ERA through 26 games. Ryan Thurston takes the mound in game number 1 at Friday at 6.
The WKU softball team dropped a best-of-3 series to UAB this past weekend. Despite outscoring the Lady Blazers in the series, the Lady Tops lost 2 out of 3 games by 1 run each. In Game 1, Catherine Downing pitched 8 scoreless innings before giving up a solo home run to give the Blazers a 1-0 lead. The Lady Tops could not answer as they accumulated just 1 hit and 9 innings of play in the loss. The Lady Tops were able to get bats going in Game 2 as they put up 7 runs on 8 hits in a 7-3 victory before falling 3-2 in the deciding game. The Lady Tops were supposed to be back in action last night against the Kentucky Wildcats. However, due to thunderstorms, the game was called off, meaning this will be the first season since 2008 and only the second time in program history that the two teams will not face off in the regular season. So with just under a month left in the regular season, let's see where WKU softball team stands in the Conference USA. The Lady Tops' 4-8 conference record puts them at 5th out of 6 teams in the East Division. Now the conference tournament only takes 8 teams, meaning the Lady Tops will need to finish at least 3rd in the East Division or clinch a postseason spot. However, if they don't finish in the top 3 in the East, the Lady Tops can still qualify as a wild card if they finish with a better conference record than the bottom 3 teams in the West. Now those bottom 3 teams in the West also have a 4-8 conference record just like WKU. The Lady Tops will get their shot at one of those teams this weekend when they travel to El Paso, Texas to take on the UTEP Lady Miners. Despite having the same record in Conference USA, the Lady Miners' overall record of 10-26 doesn't come off quite as impressive as WKU's 20-20 record. With a series victory or even a sweep, the Lady Tops can take a giant step towards stealing one of those 2 wildcard spots. Speaking of softball, one softball athlete on Western's campus has roots that run deeper than the trees blooming outside of DSU right now. Extra Point reporter Hannah Sells connects the dots in this WKU student's family tree.
Located smack dab in the middle of campus, DSU is the staple for student-based programming. And what's interesting is that it's not the only Downing on campus. Catherine Downing, senior Lady Topper softball player, has rich WKU history running through her veins.
Most of the time when I'm in a class for the first time, the teacher will read the roll, and as soon as he gets my name, he'll say, "So Downing, like Duck or DSU?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, that's my grandfather."
Most people knew Dr. Dero Downing as WKU's 4th president, but to Catherine, he was so much more.
Well, he is like a sports, just knows everything about sports. And he played basketball for Coach Diddle here at Western. And so I can remember one time he was in the hospital. We had lost a basketball game. I remember coming to the hospital after the game by his bedside and him saying, "You got to hit your free throws. You just got to hit your free throws." And that is so me. If my grandfather were still here and he was able, he'd be sitting in those stands every game. But the thing about him is he wouldn't just be sitting there because it was me. He'd be sitting there because it was WKU.
With Downing Student Union being named after Catherine's grandfather, his legacy was obviously well respected. So what kind of legacy does this softball star want to leave at WKU herself?
I think the exact same legacy he left. I mean, I truly hope just all people, not just that I go to school with, like see me as somebody who lives to serve them. You know, I mean, that's what we're here for, is to serve people. And you're not a doormat because you serve people. People respect you because they know that you'll love on them and serve them. And I'm so grateful. I mean, that example started with him to my dad, both my parents, and I'm thankful that I was able to see that.
Reporting for The Extra Point, I'm Hannah Sells.
You can learn more about Dr. Dero Downing and his legacy at WKU by logging on to www.wku.edu/Downing. Call a dentist because we have 2 jaw droppers this week.
And the Tops are back at it with a few games hitting the national airwaves. Who they're against and when.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
It's fine that other people like you. It's more important that you like yourself. And I'm comfortable with every part of me. Meals on Wheels coming to my door as someone who's housebound assures me that I'm not forgotten. They care that I'm okay. My name is Asha Ida Bell. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
The WKU football team is moving 2 games to primetime this upcoming season. WKU football announced today that the October 20th game at Old Dominion and the November 17th home finale against MTSU will be aired nationally on the CBS Sports Network. Other televised games through league partners have not yet been finalized. WKU opens up the season on September 2nd at home against Eastern Kentucky University. WKU football continues to prepare for their season in the second week of spring practices. The team continued to impress first-year head coach Mike Sanford with the speed and tempo of the practices. But with just 2 weeks remaining before the annual spring game, Coach Sanford is looking to clean up some of the mental mistakes. I've been very pleased with how they've been able to compete amongst the thinking. I just want to see some of that cleaned up, said Coach Sanford. Spring practice concludes with the annual spring game on April 22nd. Now, the introduction of a new head coach usually leads to the introduction of a brand new coaching staff. With Mike Sanford taking the reins for WKU football, Extra Point reporter Miles Schroeder has a look at who he is surrounding himself with.
Spring ball marks the birth of WKU's new offensive coaching staff, and with a staff chock full of coaches new to the Hill, the question of if WKU can maintain its offensive success is very much present.
Junior Adams will take the reins as offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach following a 3-year stint at Boise State. Adams is far from unseasoned in directing an offensive system as he helped coach the Broncos to a top 15 passing team in the nation. Despite the coaching rebuild, Adams is already impressed with how players have responded in practice.
You know, if you go out to practice like you have, man, they're probably 2+ hours, and it just seemed like they were out there for 30 minutes. Guys are flying around, they're practicing fast, and they're having fun there.
Adams will not be alone in directing the offense this season, as Steve Spurrier Jr. has taken the role of offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. Spurrier Jr. is no stranger to coaching a stellar offense, as he spent last season with an Oklahoma Sooners team ranked 3rd nationally in total offense. Spurrier Jr. believes that a melting pot of coaching experiences could be the key for the Tops this season.
We're doing a lot of what Boise State's done in the past. Coach Sanford's got a lot of experience from Notre Dame, Stanford, Sanford, and obviously from Boise as well. So it'll be a combination of a lot of those things, but terminology and base function of what Boise State has done is what we're going to do. But we're going to give the quarterback an opportunity to make plays a lot, make decisions, and get the ball to the best players on the team.
Whether or not the Tops can maintain their offensive success from last season can only be determined once the season begins, but the redesigned offensive coaching staff can certainly give Topper fans something to look forward to. Reporting for the Extra Point, I'm Miles Schroeder.
The new staff's first chance to impress will happen on April 22nd during the annual spring game.
Despite having 50% of the budget cut a year ago, the WKU track and field squad has still proven why they're one of the most decorated programs on campus. Senior sprinter Emmanuel Dasser was named the Conference USA Male Track Athlete of the Week after his performance at the Florida Relays. Dasser ran the 400-meter dash in a time of 45.93 seconds, which currently ranks 4th in the nation. Dasher's 4x100-meter relay also finished in a time that currently ranks 2nd in the nation. And this weekend will be the only chance to see the Hilltoppers at home when the track and field squad hosts the annual Hilltopper Relays. The meet begins Friday afternoon at 1 p.m. with the pole vault. Action will continue Saturday morning at 9 a.m. with the discus. Running events don't get underway until noon when Dasser and the nationally ranked 4x1-meter relay look to continue their hot season.
The WKU golf season is in full swing, pun definitely intended. The Hilltoppers made their way down to the Brook Valley Country Club this week to compete in the Brook Valley Intercollegiate Tournament. The Tops combined for a team total of 895 strokes, just 4 out of first place. Billy Tom Sargent and Stuart Easton led the Tops, finishing tied for 4th. WKU finished the tournament in 2nd place, the best team finish since the 2015-16 season. The Lady Topper golf team will get a chance to compete in the Jan Weaver Invitational this Friday and Saturday in Murray, Kentucky. WKU will be one of 11 teams competing at the Miller Memorial Golf Course this weekend. The Lady Toppers are coming off the 3rd place finish at the MSU Spring Citrus Challenge, where they tied a school record for 288 strokes finish on the final day. WKU will tee off at 8:30 on Friday for a shotgun start during the first 2 rounds. They'll The play will conclude on Saturday. Tee-off is set for 8:30. We're moving towards the fourth quarter, and it's a one-point ball game. I think we're going to have to go for two. But what will our play call be?
But not before we talk about how 150-plus Hilltoppers are killing it in academics.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
We can warn someone when their drink isn't safe.
And disrupt the situation.
We can.
Get someone the cab.
Or walk them home safely.
We can make campuses safer for our friends.
Our roommates.
Our classmates. Our fellow human beings.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can. Intervene.
It's on us.
All of us.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. As it turns out, we have very similar personalities. And this cat makes me make art because he's always motivating me to take pictures of him, to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. It's just that simple. Well, he's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
The WKU athletic team has found a lot of success this year, but it turns out they aren't just excelling on their fields of play. In fact, 157 of WKU's athletes have earned a spot on the Conference USA Commissioner's Honor Roll. Being named to the list means that those students picked up a grade point average of 3.0 or better for the 2006-2017 academic year. A few of those names include Justin Johnson, Ben Lawson, Micah Jones, Kendall Noble, and Ace Wells. The students who earn a 3.75 or higher GPA will receive the Commissioner's Academic Medal. Those athletes will be released tomorrow. WKU Women's Basketball Banquet is scheduled for Tuesday, April 18th. The banquet will be held at Jack and Jackie Harbaugh Stadium Club, where Michelle Clark-Kern and company will celebrate their third NCAA tournament appearance in 5 seasons. And although the Lady Top season is over, the awards are still piling up. Redshirt senior guard Micah Jones finished as the nation's leader in assist to turnover ratio. The Greensboro, Kentucky native finished the season with 3.73 assists for every turnover she committed on the year. Jones does so just 1 year removed from sitting out what was supposed to be her senior year with a torn ACL.
The WKU men's basketball coaching staff has an open position. Former WKU assistant Quantus White has left the Hilltopper program to join his former college coach Kelvin Sampson at Houston. White played for Coach Sampson during his days at Oklahoma. Coach White only served 1 year on the Hill as an assistant under head coach Rick Stansberry. We already know that the likes of Mitchell Robinson, Josh Anderson, Tavion Hollingsworth, and Jake Omer are coming to WKU next season, but Coach Stansberry could add a few more names to that list during the spring signing period. According to WBKO's Chad Bishop, a couple of the names that have been floating around the Hilltopper basketball program include Franklin Simpson forward Taven Lovin and Wagner High School's Devin Cooper. The signing period begins April 12th and lasts through May 17th. Joining us now to talk more about those coaching vacancies and the spring signings is College Heights Herald beat writer Matthew Stewart. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Matt, a couple of these coaching vacancies. Quantus White leaves. We've seen a lot of turnover in the basketball program over the past couple of seasons, but usually it's in the players' form. What is this coaching vacancy going to do for the team?
Well, you mentioned it's usually in the players, but the year before Rick Stansberry came, we lost the entire coaching staff. Maybe a couple managers actually stayed here on the Hill. So he had to rebuild that when he came in. Now he lost Kiwanis White. You mentioned that he's going to play or coach with his college coach that he played for. So obviously you're losing a top-tier recruiter. You know, he comes from Louisiana, used to run the AAU program there. But it's going to be a little bit easier to find an assistant coach that wants to come to the Hill and work for, you know, an SEC Hall of Famer guy like Rick Stansbury.
Now, you mentioned Kiwanis White as a top-tier recruiter. We know that Stansbury's strong suit is recruiting. How is Kiwanis White leaving going to affect recruiting going forward?
You know, in all honesty, I don't think it's going to have that much of an effect. You know, Shamon Williams, he is the guy that brought Mitchell Robinson here. You know, Rick Stansbury, he's the guy that got names like Monte Ellis. He's an NBA All-Star, so I think he'll be able to continue that here at Western without Kiwanis.
Now, Matt, we've heard all about the Louisiana duo of Mitchell Robinson and Josh Anderson, but tell us more about the interstate players, Tavion Hollingsworth and Jake Omer. What should WKU fans expect out of those two?
Well, I'll tell you what, Stansbury's been high on Tavion, you know, since the beginning, since he saw that guy. You know, last year when he played at Dunbar, he was in the finalist to be Kentucky Mr. Basketball. This past year, he won the award. He's a top-tier player. He's been coached well from AAU ball, high school basketball. So when he gets here on the Hill, he's going to be ready to go with those practices, ready to see what the coaches have to tell him to do, and he'll be ready to implement that on the court. You know, you talk about Omer. I don't really know too much about this guy. Stansbury didn't either, but he happened to go to Rupp Arena for the KHSAA Sweet 16. He saw Omer drop something like 75 points in 3 games. This guy was getting ready to go to NAIA level. You know, Rick Stansbury came in, changed his life, and gave him a Division I scholarship. I don't know if he'll change Rick Stansbury's life, but I'll tell you who will. That's Lamonte Bearden. He's been sitting on the bench this past season. He played at Buffalo, 2 NCAA tournaments. He dropped 30 points on teams like Duke, Iowa State, Miami of Florida. So we know about Mitchell Robinson, but Lamonte Bearden's going to get the ball to Mitchell. You got to have somebody that can run the offense and get it to Mitchell, a 5-star McDonald's All-American here at Western. So Lamonte Bearden, I think, will be the key next year.
Now, Matt, one last question before we let you go. One of the big names that I saw on that list was Taven Lovin from Franklin Simpson. I know Stansbury wasn't too high on him in the beginning of the season. How did he change his opinion of Lovin?
You know, Taven Lovin drove the Franklin Simpson team all the way to the region tournament here in Kentucky, and to do that pretty much solely on his own is going to impress any college coach. He's a big guy. He's a strong guy. He needs to work on his jump shot, but he'll be a well-versed player if he does, in fact, play in Conference USA with Rick Stansbury.
Thanks, Matt. Hopefully with all the big names coming in next year, we'll see some different results. The expectations couldn't be higher for Rick Stansbury and the Hilltopper basketball team next season. All right, hold on to your seats as we head to the 4th quarter and get you bring you this week's Hero on the Hill.
I'll be right back. Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Oh, look, a redhead. Staring contest. You still got it. I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
You were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Every week we bring you one athlete that stood out above the rest, even if that person didn't have a highlight reel game. This week, that person is junior infielder Tyler Robertson. Against Murray State, Robertson went 0 for 3 from the plate with 1 strikeout. Not impressed? Well, you shouldn't be. What made Robertson our hero on the Hill was his walk-off sacrifice fly in the bottom of the 9th inning that gave WKU the lead and the win against the Racers. Heroes don't always wear capes, and they don't always go 4 for 4 and hit for the cycle. Sometimes it's as easy as a fly ball to left field to become our hero on the hill. And speaking of Robertson's walk-off sacrifice, here it is, our first jaw dropper of the week. Robertson at the plate, bottom of the 9th inning, gets a fastball a little bit middle of the plate, lifts it into left field. It's caught. Coley Curry tags from third. Here's the throw, draws the catcher away from the plate, and that's your ball game. WKU snapped their 4-game losing streak. They win 10-9 over Murray State.
For a second jaw dropper of the week comes in women's basketball. If there's a David versus Goliath showdown, it was in the Final Four. Mississippi State taking on the almighty UConn Huskies, and Morgan Williams takes a drive, closing seconds of overtime, and knocks down the undefeated UConn Huskies. A 111-game winning streak snapped. The longest winning streak in college basketball history came to an end.
Now, Sam, that women's championship game, that was a big moment for Mississippi State, especially given last year how they were absolutely trounced by UConn by, I believe, close to 60 points. But 111 wins, that is going to be history. Nobody, I don't think, is going to be able to surpass that. It's sad to see a record like that kind of come to an end.
Yeah, absolutely. It's heartbreaking that that type of winning streak comes to an end for the UConn Huskies. But let's talk a little more about the men's basketball championship. It's time in that show to where we go for two. Let's talk a little about the men's basketball championship. My opinion, that national championship game between Gonzaga and North Carolina just wasn't as entertaining as some of the national championship games I've watched before. The first 35 minutes of the game was very slow. Lots of fouls called. The refs really didn't let them play. It didn't really have that national championship feeling like I've seen in the past. What do you think?
No, I have to agree. It was a little bit slow paced for me, especially with given all the fouls that were called during the beginning of the game. It kind of slowed everything down, and just the feel behind the game wasn't that of national championships that we've seen in the past. Now, granted, I was a proponent of the war for the Carolinas in the national championship this year. South Carolina versus North Carolina. Wasn't a huge fan of seeing Gonzaga in there, but it was still a great accomplishment for Gonzaga to be able to get to the national championship, especially given their recent history and their struggles inside the tournament.
Yeah, and although the national championship game for me and for both of us wasn't as entertaining, I think the tournament as a whole was pretty entertaining. I think it was great to see Gonzaga, a mid-major team that's just been under the bubble for so long. They finally got over the hump and got to the Final Four, got to the national championship game, finally after all those years of everyone telling them they're not for real, they're just another mid-major team. No one needs to take them seriously. And also South Carolina, kind of like Syracuse did a year ago, kind of a Power 5 team that just kind of snuck into the tournament real quietly and made a huge run to the Final Four. As a tournament as a whole, I thought it was phenomenal.
The tournament was it's always a fun time. It was a little bit upsetting to see the WKU men's basketball team not able to punch their ticket to the big dance with their struggles in the conference tournament. But that year is behind us now. We're looking forward to next year, and we talked with Matt about some of the recruits that are coming in. What do you think? What do you make of this next season?
Well, it's going to be a totally new look for WKU next season. Mitchell Robinson, Josh Anderson, Lamonte Bearden, all three of those guys will be starters. We'll lose guys like Pancake Thomas and tons of other players that were redshirt seniors that Stansbury originally brought in just to fill the roster. So it's going to be a totally new look, but the talent's there. I think there's no doubt about it. They should be one of the favorites to make a run to the conference championship and make it to the NCAA tournament.
Thank you, Sam. That's all we have time for here at The Extra Point. For Sam Porter, I'm Jimmy Stratman, and Sam, as always, The Extra Point is up.
And it's good.